A viewer asked, "Can I start the party out as captives with no equipment?" Of course you can, though you may find yourself walking home in your underwear. Gear is a pretty important part of D&D. You should not underestimate the effect it has. There are a number of concerns about starting them without equipment or with their equipment immediately taken away. It's not something I would advise. For one thing, you wouldn't want to let players spend a whole bunch of time picking out all their starting equipment and getting attached to it, only to take it all away, unless there's some way for them to get it back. This problem isn't as bad if starting at level 1, when they don't expect to have much equipment, but even then, many characters may be built with certain gear in mind, especially exotic weapons, which they may not be able to realistically find in treasure hoards, and without which their whole character concept might be hosed. So if you are planning on starting them with nothing, I would warn them, at least tell them that they need to be flexible in what types of equipment they can use. If you make the loss of equipment a surprise, or do it later on, when they've had time to play for a while, accumulate loot, etc., the event will definitely have more impact, but you are risking a poor player experience. Now, if you wanted an excuse to leave them their gear, despite being prisoners, one way, if they were stripped down shortly before being thrown into a dungeon, might be to have a big tentacle reach up as soon as the pit is opened, pulling down the guard holding your party's equipment, or most of it, or collapsing a section of floor which happens to contain their gear. After the guards hurriedly kick them down and shut the door, the PCs would have to fight the first monster, au naturel, and then dig their kit out of its innards. If you are really starting them with no gear in the first place, I would make sure to position a trove of equipment they will find after the second or third encounter. It doesn't have to be great. That is the beauty of this type of module or campaign start, that they will come to appreciate every half-decent weapon or piece of armor they can find. So you certainly don't have to provide a lot of magic stuff, or even enough items to equip the entire party in this first cache, but enough stuff to give them some gear choices, like who gets what armor, and to give them enough strength to take on slightly more challenging opponents. After all, depending on the party composition, the game edition, and other factors, it can be very tricky to find fights that a weaponless party can handle. In 3rd edition D&D, being unarmed is almost suicidal without special feats or class powers, since your every attack triggers an attack of opportunity, and the penalty for using improvised weapons, using a 2x4 as a club for example, is massive, severely limiting what a naked party can handle. In 5th edition, with the slower scaling of enemies, reduced emphasis on ubiquitous magic gear, and lesser penalties for improvised weapons, unequipped heroes can probably handle themselves slightly better, but you still have to reduce the threat level to compensate, and in any edition, you have to be quite mindful of what the party's spellcasters can and cannot do without a spell focus or material components. Overall, starting with nothing can be a memorable foundation for a campaign, but there are a lot of pitfalls, and stealing or destroying more than 1 or 2 items from a player characters later in their career is likely to create a lot of bad blood. If you have a question about running an RPG campaign, or anything else, you can ask it in the comments below, or tweet it to #RPGqa. I'm not really an expert, but if people keep asking, I may just take a stab at it. And check out the drama, humor, and ongoing illustrated story of Tales from My D&D Campaign. If you found that useful or entertaining, or if you enjoy cookies, hit the like button.